Thank you very much, Taylor. Our next speaker is Rob Davies. He's the director of the Effingham County, Illinois Farmers Union, and today he is going to be talking about the current state of hemp production and legislation in the region.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see so many pioneers out here. Every time we do one of these, there seems to be a crowd, and it's really good to see so many people interested in growing hemp. One of the first formal discussions that I ever had about industrial hemp in the state sounded kind of like a bad movie. We had a consultant, an attorney, a pheasant farmer, a hemp guy, and a bunch of old dudes. So it's really good to see you all out here today, and thank you for coming. My name is Rob Davies. I'm with Farmers Union. I serve on the board of Illinois Farmers Union, and I do some work around the region in all of those states besides Wisconsin. Wisconsin is kind of the big mama of the states in our region, and they kind of take care of themselves, and they do a really good job of it. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about what is happening around us with the eye to the future. We're all thinking about what hemp can do for us, but I think we should also start looking at what we can do for hemp and how we can work in the networks that already exist in order to create a viable industry and to use our networks to start building out something that can transform a portion of agriculture for our state and also revitalize our rural communities. I live down in the southern part of the state in Effingham County, and it's noticeable how the extraction economy has affected our communities. And I think hemp, to a large degree, can help us alleviate some of the social problems that have arisen out of the extraction economy and the influence that big ag has had on our communities. So Wisconsin, like I said, is probably the most well-positioned of all the states in our region. They're in the second year of their hemp pilot program. They've had almost 2,100 applications for 2019. 1,400 people applied to grow, 692 as processors, more than 1,200 first-time growers, and 247 first-time processors. That's a huge number. In 2018, only 247 growers and 100 processors, and not all of them grew and not all of them processed. So it's a large increase. Their licensing process is really well organized. It looks like everything works like clockwork up there, and I think we can take a few leaves out of their book to look at how our process functions here. And Wisconsin looks set for a really good year in 2019. Indiana is also looking good as far as good goes for the states that do not have rules. Their biggest issue is that they do not have a massively progressive House. There seems to be some problems getting legislation through the House, and that's really where their biggest bugbear is. They are permitted to grow hemp for research. They grew around 5 acres in Indiana in 2019, a guy called Mark Boyer. He has a farm called Healthy Hoosier Oil. If you Google that, he does cold pressing of sunflower and canola seed, and he partnered with Purdue on hemp seed research and pressing for oil. So there are some guys that have done really well there. They have a very large, well-organized advocacy network. The Indiana Farmers Union has a hemp chapter devoted specifically to hemp. The Midwest Hemp Association is also based out of Indiana. And they've just got good people doing lots of good things there. And I would encourage Illinois farmers to connect with folks in Indiana just to network and to talk and to learn. They have Senate Bill 516, the regulation of hemp, introduced in January of this year. It will establish an advisory committee to oversee the process whereby Indiana would get to what their final set of rules for production are. There is some talk about who is going to be on that committee and who is going to be excluded from it. So there's all kinds of fun little politics happening in Indiana at the moment. Their bill passed the Senate virtually unanimously, 47-1. It went on to the House where it was met with some resistance, and it is now in committee. So we are not sure how long it's going to stay there, if it'll languish in committee or whether it will somehow miraculously escape from committee and they will have something workable. 2019 will most likely be another research year for Indiana. In Ohio, hemp production is presently not legal. They introduced SB 57 into their legislature in late February with input from the Ohio Farmers Union. Their bill aims to decriminalize hemp and license cultivation. It is currently with the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee. It was referred to them 6 days after it was introduced. Ohio does seem very serious about hemp. 4 of the bill sponsors serve on their Ag Committee, including the Vice Chair and the bill sponsor, Brian Hill. So it looks like they are really intent on moving forward. Some of the provisions in their bill are very wide and very liberal. So if Ohio does go on board, I think they're going to be a player pretty quickly. It's likely that they could have their program in place in 2019 with cultivation commencing in 2020, perhaps a little bit sooner if they're lucky. Missouri has kind of been a slow starter on hemp. They also have a resistant house. They are presently in their second phase of rulemaking. Their first set of rules were made with very little consultation and were fairly onerous. Some of the provisions in those rules were really restrictive. They placed restrictions on the minimum and maximum acreage. For instance, the minimum was 10 and the maximum was 40 acres. Only 2,000 acres across the entire state were earmarked for hemp, which sounds like a lot, but if you've got a lot of people wanting to do it, it isn't. Missouri Farmers Union commented on the rules, and the Missouri Department of Agriculture seemed really pleased that somebody wanted to provide input. At their first rule meeting, they had only about 20 people come to the meeting, which is not very many. They say their pilot program rules will come into effect on June 30th of this year, which is most likely going to exclude them from growing outdoors this year. They might get some indoor grow in, but we also don't know what their licensing is going to be like. Do they have a 90-day window? Do they have a 30-day window? We're not sure. So it all seems up in the air, and their applications for growers will be made available the fall of 2019, so probably only indoor grow. Iowa is way behind. Iowa's big problem is that they do not have a legal term for hemp. Hemp is part of marijuana. It's cannabis, and it's viewed as such. So in 2017 and 2018, they tried to introduce legislation to reclassify hemp. It passed the Senate, was killed in the House. They've started a new effort this year, but they are likely awaiting the USDA rules, or they are simply not going to make any of their own rules and will just follow the USDA rules. They face a very tough road. They have no Department of Agriculture funding, so it'll all be fees driven. It'll be super expensive, most likely, if they do decide to do their own thing. It will need to pass 4 committees: Judiciary, Appropriations, Ways and Means, and Agriculture. And for some bills just struggling in the Ag Committee, you can imagine what a horrendous climb that will be for any bill that faces that kind of opposition in the House. It is most likely that no hemp will be grown in Iowa this year, and most probably also not even in 2020. So Illinois is sitting really pretty if you kind of look at all the other states that are in the process. We're very fortunate that we have progressive thinking, at our government level. So that bodes well for all of us. Growing hemp is legal in Michigan. It's still very kind of Wild West there. No hemp was grown last year, but they introduced the Industrial Hemp Research and Development Act in 2018. The Department of Ag and Rural Development is in the process of developing a state hemp plan and rules for Michigan. The MDARD will submit their plan to the USDA, and the USDA will review or approve within 60 days. There is a possibility that hemp production will commence in 2019, and 2020 is most likely more likely, but it could happen in 2019 for sure. I just want to talk a bit about Farmers Union and Industrial Hemp. Farmers Union is a national agricultural organization founded in 1902. We have a drive towards sustainability. We like direct-to-consumer farmers. We are not big fans of industrial agriculture. A lot of what we do is for the consumer's sake. We support issues like country of origin labeling. We do a lot of work around climate change and environmental issues. So we have around 220,000 farmer members across the nation, over 32 states. Most of our members, the vast majority of our members, are actually family farmers. They're farmers. They're not folks that buy car insurance. So we have supported hemp production and product development for a long time in our official policy. We support farmer-led production and marketing initiatives. We want to see this industry grow with farmers. If we get back into the position that we're at now with commodity agriculture, there's no point in doing this. To get back on that treadmill where you're growing stuff and selling it to somebody, and you're not keeping really any of the value chain intact, we might as well stop today. This is an opportunity that we have to take part in an industry, to help shape it, and to help shape the industry behind what we're doing so that we can keep those chains intact and stop the extraction and keep the revenue within our rural communities and within our schools and, within the places that we live and work. We have large established farmer networks throughout the country and throughout the region, and I'm not just talking about Farmers Union, I'm talking about all of us sitting here. Most of us know each other, we know our neighbors. We need to talk to each other and figure this thing out properly. Just through the course of working in all these regional states, there have been some common threads, and the most common of these threads that I hear from everybody, and the advice that I can give you, is to check, verify, check. Check everything. Don't believe anything that you hear that sounds too good to be true, because it most likely is. If you're dealing with somebody that is promising you the earth, sun, and moon, call somebody and say, hey, have you heard of this? Call ISA. Call the Illinois Hemp Industries Association. Call Rachel and Chris and just verify. There are an incredible amount of charlatans out there who are not in it for you or for agriculture or for building an industry. They're in it to make quick bucks, chop chop. So if you are approached by anybody that you have a feeling about, verify and check. If you wish to, you can check out what the National Farmers Union does on nfu.org. You can also follow them on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and I wish you all success in your endeavors with Industrial Hemp.